Okay, one of my favorite things to make are scones. I love to eat them too. So I've got around me here my flour. I have 2 cups of flour, and I'm actually filming this on my iPad, so pardon me. I have 2 cups of flour. I have 2 tablespoons of dry mustard. Oops, let's get that right here. 2 tablespoons of dry mustard. I have, because it's 2 cups of flour, I have 2 tablespoons of baking powder. And scones are traditional. I'm just mixing it up with with a whisk here to put some air into the dough. Now, scones are traditionally an English thing, and being Jamaican, we do versions of scones, but one of the things that we do very well are scones. So I'm just putting in, and I've got my giant knife here, I'm just cutting up some butter, and I have half a cup of butter that was just in the fridge, so you kind of need it to be, you need it to be cold, okay? So I'm cutting up and of course I'm using a giant knife, so don't be scared. Use a little knife if you want to. But you know, I love my giant knives. Okay, so I'm cutting up the butter. So let's recap. I have 2 cups of flour, 2 tablespoons of baking powder, because I have 2 cups of flour, and this will actually make about 10 scones. And I have some cheddar, so I have some cheddar here, which we'll be putting in later, and I have some milk. So I'm just gonna scrape this up here and mix it into so now I'm mixing basically mixing the butter into the flour mixture. So it takes a couple of minutes, but you just need to rub the butter into the flour until it looks like fine breadcrumbs. So you know, when you go to the store and you buy breadcrumbs, the Italian breadcrumbs that you used to put on you know, your chicken for frying and those sorts of things, that's kind of what it's supposed to look like. So I'm just gonna work on this, and when it's ready, I will add the cheese. And you can choose any form of cheese that you like. You can choose, of course I said I'm using the yellow cheddar, of course, and I am also using aged cheddar. Find a cheese that's really, that's got a lot of flavor to it, very tasty cheese. And when you make the scones, you know, you can serve it with something sweet if you like, because cheese loves sweet. You know, a little bit of preserves if you like, a little bit of, you can serve it with more cheese, you can have it on your own, you could put a bit of butter on it. I love butter. Everything's better with butter. So let me just finish this up here, and it's almost done. And you can do this in the food processor, but I like putting my hands in and digging my hands in, and I'm not. Baking is a precise art. It is. Once you get the hang of it, then you kind of gauge it, so it's no longer as precise as, you know, you would want to make it. You preheat the oven to 375, and if your oven is slow, put it to 400 degrees, because the ovens today are pretty good. They're, you know. Okay, so I'm just going to show you what it looks like in just like 2 seconds, well, 2 minutes. We have crumbly, really nice. Let's see if I could put it here. Really nice crumbly dough for our scones. So I'm gonna put in about it's about 3 cups of. I love lots of cheese, so I'm gonna overdo it and put about 3 cups of grated cheddar in here. And again, I'm just gonna mix it up. So when I talk about it being cheese scones, it is cheesy scones. And I think with this much, we're gonna need about half a cup of milk. Now, you can make it really rich by putting, so now what I'm gonna do, I'm just about gonna wash my hands. And I'm gonna get a fork. So this is a part where you treat your scones as delicately as you treat your pastry. So I'm gonna grab some more milk out the fridge, and for like what they call regular scones, so I'm pouring in a third of a cup of milk, and then I'm just tossing to see what it looks like. And of course it's gonna need more, so I'm gonna pour in another, so it's about a half a cup of liquid to make this come together. I'm just gonna turn on the oven. The oven's on, and like I said, I use a fork to mix this so that the butter doesn't get. 2 reasons for doing this, for using a fork. 1, the butter doesn't get too warm, and 2, it maintains the lightness of your mixture, so you don't end up with pastry that's too tough. So this needs a smidge more, and again I'm just adding a touch more milk just to get it to come together. And basically when it's together, I'm just gonna put it on the counter here. Grab a drop more flour, sprinkle it on the counter, just a little bit, and then turn my pastry out onto the counter. Because it won't actually mix together what this, you know, if it's in the bowl so much. And so I'm just gonna tip the camera so you can see. Kind of funny to do it that way, but anyway. So I mix this together to create a nice gently, you know, and again, if it's still too crumbly, just a tiny touch more milk or water. You can add water to it too. Now, I was saying earlier that putting an egg into your scone makes it really rich. It makes a full breakfast if you want to do that. And so I mix it up and then I press it out, and I'll have nice, light, flaky cheese scones. And I got some beautiful Parmesan cheese. I got some beautiful Parmesan cheese at one of my favorite, I have 2 favorite Italian delis, but one of my favorite Italian delis, I went in and got got a nice bit of Parmesan cheese, and which is very cool. And so let me just grab, I can have a nice bit of Parmesan cheese on it, and they had gorgeous salami, so I got some of that as well. So let me just grab my baking sheet. I'm actually gonna put parchment paper on, and it's not really because I don't want it to stick, because the scones won't stick to the parchment paper, but it keeps my, I'm just gonna get my little pastry cutter. I do that because then I don't have to clean I don't have to clean my, my baking sheet. So I'm just cutting out my pastry here. And of course, you know, I have some blueberry preserves. I have all sorts of wonderful things that I can put on here. Of course, my mouth is watering in anticipation because I love scones. And my daughters love scones as well. My younger daughter, who is now becoming quite an accomplished pastry chef, has her own taste in scones. So she makes different ones from me. I go very traditional, and she goes a little bit more cordon bleu with hers, which is pretty cool. It is very, very fantastic. So I'm almost done cutting up the scones, and then when you're done, you have these little bits here. Let's see if I can get you to see them. Oops, sorry. You have these little bits here, and so what I do is I just squeeze that together. This is a very, very cheesy scone. It's wonderful. I love cheesy scones, and I'm having scones, mustard, dry mustard, and prepared dry mustard, and cheesy scones are one of my favorite scones, apart from the traditional raised scones with raisins and that sort of thing. So I'm just gonna cut the last two. And I use up every single bit of scone mixture and have one tiny one in the middle. And throw that in the garbage. And that's the process of making scones. In under 10 minutes, you can actually have your scones ready to go into the oven. So we'll come back when the scones are ready, and you can see them coming out the oven. I guess you need to see them before they go into the oven. So there are our scones all ready to go. And we'll come back and you can see how easy it is to make scones. It'll be, so there you go.